The playing? Oh, there it is. There's the
I was worrying about it. There it is. I knew we could find it.
We did. What's going on, everybody? This is Whiskey with an Agent, episode 12.
Episode 12. Yep, episode 12. And today is a really important day because we're going over the home buying process. So this is going to be a fun one. A lot of people have been very curious or starting to do their own searching or getting geared up and ready for the buying a home this year. So why not start and see what we can help people speed along the process for the rest of this year, whenever that goal is. So let's get into this,
man.
Everyone. So, we got to know what everyone's drinking first, though.
Yes. Chris? What do you? I haven't even poured mine yet.
I haven't poured mine yet either. That's my ice was melting.
You always got something new. So what do you got tonight? Are you drinking?
All right.
See, there you go, man. You always got some new bottle.
Yep, just for this
Whistle
night.
Pig.
Every night.
Dang.
This is the 10-year batch. I love Whistle Pig. Whistle Pig is one of my top favorite whiskeys of all time. This is the second tier. The first tier is the 6-year. And then this one is the next year up, which is the 10-year. The piggyback is the 6-year, and that one is it's actually relatively inexpensive in my mind, whereas this one is like obviously a little bit more expensive, and it is smooth. Oh, some of my favorite whiskey is this one right here. The 15 is right here, and I'm wondering, what are you drinking, Jared? What are you drinking?
Well,
you going for some more Japanese whiskey? You got to finish them off before you buy a new bottle.
Well, so I've been, I don't know. I keep going back to. So I have the Irish whiskey. It's the
Sexton. Yep.
The Sexton. Yep. And
it's pretty good.
It is. It's really good. But then I've got. So I have a little bit left of the Glenmorangie. So I've got just a little bit left. So I figured I would sip on that one, and then if I got tired of this one, or if I ran out, I got the other one.
There you go. You plan on polishing off that bottle?
Oh man. Well, it is spring break, right?
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. In the past 2 days in Florida, man, I don't know about over there on the coast where you're at, but here in Orlando, it has just been downpour for like the past 2 days, for like a day and a half, really.
No, same here. I feel bad for all the because it's bike week right now. So
they gotta be careful.
We've had some really bad storms come through. Nothing like too crazy with lightning and thunder, but just some torrential downpours. And I feel bad for I was driving down the highway and I saw some bikers. They weren't laid out, right? They were driving like this, trying to protect their eyes, just like holding on with one hand and just trying. No thanks.
You know, when I rode, this was like years ago before I sold my bike. I would spray Windex on the shade of my helmet, so when the rain hit, it just beat it right off. Nice. It beat it right off. I was like, "This is the first thing I'm doing." It was the smartest move ever.
Does it Rain-X kind of do the same thing, or is it totally different for motorcycles? Did you say Rain-X?
No, it's Rain-X.
I think I said Windex.
Oh, did I? Shit.
I don't know. I was thinking you said
it's Rain-X. That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe I
Rain-X.
Windex. I don't know. Hey, if you guys heard it in the chat, tell me what he said, because I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, confirm, please.
I was like, I don't know. Maybe that's.
Speaking of chat, we definitely have some. Not Windex. Thanks, Mom.
Rain-X. So she did say Windex. Okay.
I did say Windex, but we got.
Already had a couple of sips of whiskey there. You already.
Maybe. I'm just excited to be back on. It's been 2 weeks. Hello, Monica. Hello, Lou. Lou is drinking Macallan 12s. Is it the bottle I got you, or did you polish off that bottle? And then my boy Eric. Yeah, my boy Eric Gray's on, chiming in. He's going through the home buying process right now, so he just got approved. Just set him up on searches, so we're on our way out. We're gonna find some stuff.
Congrats.
Cheers, Lou. Cheers. Eric, Mom, cheers. Monica, enjoy your water.
Lou pointed out that you did say Windex as well. So. All right, so it wasn't just me. I wasn't hearing you wrong, because I was like, man, I'm pretty sure he said Windex. It's all good.
That's awesome. Well, cheers to everyone
Yeah.
for making another week. Be safe out there in those weather conditions. And, here we go. Let's enjoy the
All
home
right
buying
then.
process.
Yes.
Cheers.
So, well, before we get into that, so if you've made it this far, so if you're watching this later on and it's not live and you don't want to watch the entire video, they can actually find us audio only versions of a podcast. So you can actually go to, we have a couple of different places where you can find it. It's on anchor.fm. And then you can also find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and
Twitch.
iHeartRadio.
Oh, that's right. We're on
Yes, we're on
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio. We are live streaming on Twitch, so if you're a fan of Twitch and you like watching it on there, I'm actually monitoring. I don't know if the chat comes through our other platform, but I am monitoring the chat room over there if you're watching on Twitch. So, but the audio only version is through all those other platforms or whatever app you use on your phone. You can go snag the RSS feed from anchor.fm and then put that into your app and then get all of our shows right in your ears.
In your ears.
In your ears.
Just going to be listening to your ears.
And then check it out. Check it out. Did you see this? You see my shirt? I got a whiskey with an agent shirt.
Where's mine, jackass?
Dude, it's coming. It's coming.
Don't be a jerk. Give me one.
And on the side, it says podcast. And then, hold on. Let me stand up.
Oh, okay. You're wearing pants, right? Nice.
Well, so on the back, it's basically the same logo, but bigger.
Much bigger. I like it.
So
your wife designed it, right?
She did the shirt. Well, you designed the logo thing. But
yeah, I designed the logo, but the shirt,
she has
like
the
her
stuff
idea.
to print out, and then she can, I don't know how it all works, but she prints it out somehow, and then it goes over to a shirt, and then whatever.
How many do we have? Like, if anybody wants one, we're happy to go ahead and give it to them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just have right now I just have this one, and then the other one is in process. It's I think we were waiting on, because this shirt, it was, I don't know, the colors didn't pop as much as we wanted it to. So I think she was going to do yours in a little bit darker shirt.
I'm wondering if we should do black, because the black will make that stand out like beautifully.
I think so. I did mine on a different color because I just don't think black does well for me. I don't know.
Matches your soul.
Hey, no. Is that okay? All right, so we're going there with that. Okay. All right, I see how this is. All right. Well, maybe, you know what? Let's just go ahead and get into this home buying process.
Don't be so butthurt. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Hey, Nancy. She's drinking amaretto on the rocks. Nice.
Yes.
That's
her go-to drink for dessert at the end of the night. Yeah.
That's amaretto is a bit strong for me, but
it's a good one.
Is it? I haven't. Well, it's been a while.
I mean, you're drinking straight whiskey, sir.
Well, I know.
Different taste.
It's been a while since I've had amaretto, so maybe I'll have to go back and try it again.
There you go. So give it a shot, at least once more. We can do it.
All right. So
all right.
Everybody's so patiently waiting for us to stop jabbering on and actually talk about the home buying process. So we have a bunch of stuff to talk about, but so as far as the home buying process, I mean, where do you start? Like, what is first? Should I just like start looking at homes online? Or should we, is it best to start narrowing down an area? Should I figure out what I could afford? Mm-hmm. Or should I just call an agent for, like, what should I do before I even call an agent, I guess?
Well, one of the first things you should absolutely do is be ahead of the game. If you don't foresee yourself staying where you are 6 months or a year or 2 years, then you really should start getting your ducks in a row as soon as possible. And whether it be sit down with an agent first or get the pre-approved first, there is nothing wrong in my mind with sitting down and get pre-approved or talking to a lender first. I don't think one is better over the other. If you sit down and decide to get pre-approved first, what this does is it allows you to foresee your future. It'll tell you where you are currently, and it can also tell you where you should be when the time comes. You want to try to refrain from moving last minute or trying to purchase last minute, especially in a seller's market.
Yeah.
So if you want to get with an agent first, the agent, especially professionals such as ourselves, we're going to have a team to support our clients. So I
Right.
have I have three lenders. I have my go-to, my secondary, my third. They all have different options based on the client's scenario or the client's needs.
Hmm.
So having that kind of a structure is really beneficial to the client because that communication within that structure is very, very strong versus a someone you've never met before and then someone else you've never met before, like a lender you've never met before and then an agent you've never met before and the agent and the lender have never met before. So now you
Right.
have like a triangle of new
Yep.
people trying to work with together, and
Yep.
sometimes it works sometimes, and sometimes it just ends up being a very cluster of a time for the client because we all haven't been able to sync. Whereas if you can have a stable structure of a lender that you've been working with for 5, 6 years,
Right.
then it's going to be very seamless because we're going to have that communication even without really talking to each other because we understand and we know each other and we bring that element to the table.
Right.
So I recommend starting as soon as possible. Long story short, soon as possible, sitting with an agent or a lender and finding out um, what the goal is, like
Yep.
short term, midterm, long term.
Right.
Long term
Yep.
being actually looking at property and putting in offers, and then kind of working backwards from there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, and Lou kind of he said something here. A good agent knows what you like and steers you in the right direction, and that's going to save valuable time. So essentially, I kind of to go off of what you're saying. I mean, getting started to me, you really got to figure out okay, what before you even do the pre-approval, you got to look at your own finances. An agent isn't going to look at your finances and tell you what you can afford. It's really up to the person buying the home or the family or the couple or whoever it is. It's up to that person to figure out to look at their finances and say, you know what, I can afford, and break it down into monthly costs. I can afford $1,300 a month, and that's it. Or I
Hmm.
can, I'm maxed out at $2,000 a month, and you got to think about not just your mortgage, but your monthly homeowners insurance and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. So you got to kind of factor. So,
Hmm.
but just get a generic number of okay, $2,000. Okay, now it's time to maybe talk to an agent, so that agent can help steer you in the right direction of talking to a loan officer to get pre-approval. Um, really start breaking down some of those costs. So,
Yeah, I have to agree with that. If you are good with your money and you go with your finances and know how much you can afford,
yep.
it's going to be kind of easy to have a ballpark of what your affordability is. And there's also great mortgage calculators out there to kind of
Yes.
help understand and break things down. If that's something that you don't necessarily know how to do, this is really for like the first time home buyers. If you don't necessarily know how much you can kind of afford, then you want to
Mm-hmm.
sit down with a lender because they are
Right.
going to essentially expose your financial situation
Right.
and really help you understand your financial situation and then
Right.
be able to guide you into a clear direction
Yes.
of where you should be, where you want to be, and then how much also your purchase power, your affordability.
Right.
Um,
And that way
yeah,
you're not overextending yourself too, because
yeah, they can't allow you. They won't allow you.
they won't allow you, but
Lenders.
you're also not setting yourself up for failure where you're thinking,
Hmm.
"Hey, I could do 2,500," and then after you break down everything, you're like, "Oh crap, 1,800 is about all I can do because of, my income and everything, all my other expenses and everything." So,
Hmm.
uh so yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that to me that's probably the first thing I would do.
Hmm. Is determining your financial situation, and
Right.
that I have to agree. And here's the thing too. Let's kind of touch on the whole credit situation. Well, I don't want them to run my credit. I don't want my credit to get hurt.
Mhm.
Well, that's kind of you know, what's the word? A misnomer or a fallacy. One of those
Right.
where it's not true. So when you go to like a car dealership and you're purchasing a car, your credit's going to get run multiple times because they are going to run you through the system to see who's going to approve you for the car. And
Right.
so at that point, your credit is just going to get bam, bam, bam. It's just going to get tackled like hard. Whereas like a lender, the three credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, they understand that part of the home buying process requires your credit to be pulled. So
Mhm.
and they understand that when it comes time towards you actually purchase the property, your credit is going to get pulled again. And so it doesn't make sense to penalize a consumer when it's part of the requirements to purchase a home. Because a lot of people can purchase a car cash, not everyone can purchase a house cash. So it doesn't make sense to penalize someone on a credit level. So
Right.
if you interfere like 6 months from now or a year and a half from now from actually buying your house, sitting down with a lender and getting pre-approved now will only showed you a guide on how to be where you want to be in 6 months and
Right.
a year. And over that course of time, you'll only be better about building your credit up and building up your savings and then building up and having a greater understanding of your own financial situation. So the earlier you can do that, the better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I definitely
and
agree with that.
and when figuring out your finances also, so you're looking at your monthly cost, but don't forget about the other things like your down payment. So I mean, you have to bring some money to the table. I mean, unless you're doing like a VA loan, those are no down payment or 0% down payment, right? So
A
but
VA and USDA.
yeah. So, but otherwise, you're bringing down some sort of down payment. If it's an FHA, those are what, 3.5%, right?
Mhm.
So that's something to think about. How much cash do you actually have in the bank that you can part with? And obviously, the more the better. Sometimes. Um, so don't forget about those things as well, when you're
Mhm.
looking at what you can afford. Because that was one thing when I bought my first house, I was like, hey, I can afford, because I fell right into that trap. And I said, well, hey, I can afford, $1,300 a month, no problem. And then when we
Yeah.
started digging into the numbers, I was like, holy crap, I got like $10,000 I got to put down. I don't
Yeah.
know if I
That's a
was
lot.
scrounging. I was pulling up sofa cushions looking for pennies, trying to find how I was going to make that down payment. So, but it worked out. It worked out. But just don't get caught last minute and not
No, you
have.
can't. Sometimes it's an unfortunate situation where sometimes you're renting. Yeah, I'm gonna plan to move in about a year, and then all of a sudden you get hit with a 30-day notice from your landlord that, hey, you have to leave. I'm selling the house. So
Right.
those are some of those unfortunate situations.
Yeah.
And when those situations occur, trying to get pre-approved to buy a house at that time is honestly, you can do it. I'm not discouraging you not to, but you should really be focusing on looking for a rental space, even if a temporary one, while you're going through the approval process. So you need to be doing two things at once: looking for a rental process and then going through the approval process.
Right.
um, because in this market where it's predominantly sellers, it's not favorable, and the chances are you're going to have a hard time. You're going to submit multiple offers before you'll end up having an acceptance.
Yeah.
And that's from price ranges
Yep.
of 100,000 all the way up to $700,000-800,000 homes right now,
Yes. Yep.
just by pure demand.
Yep.
And that's the reality of it. So you need to be doing two things at once if you get hit with a kind of a hard notice reality check like that.
Right.
Mhm.
Um. So then let's see what's next. So I mean, we figured
Well,
out what.
I was going to say, like, lenders, when you're getting pre-approved, is really good to find someone that's going to qualify you all the way through the process.
Mm-hmm.
There are companies where you can go online and get pre-approved in 30 seconds like that.
Yep.
And those companies, just to name a few, is like Quicken Loans, Rocket Mortgage, and a couple of those other ones. You can input anything you want in there, and they're going to give you, you're qualified, you're pre-approved. And all those really is just like a funnel filler kind of company where they just shove people down the funnel, and whoever comes out comes out. Yep. And so it's really important that you understand the difference between a pre-qualified versus a pre-approval. Yeah, and some of those companies too, like you're not going to talk to the same person every time or every step of the way, and that's a big issue because you're not working with just one person, like of your loan officer. So you really want to find someone who's local if you can, someone who has a team if you can, so such as like a realtor and a lender relationship, and then also someone who's going to guide you and educate you through the approval process.
It makes it so much easier.
It makes it so much easier
when you're working with the same person through the entire process. I mean, same thing with, you get an agent and you have one agent through the entire process. You get a lender and just have one lender through the entire process. It's okay to shop around to find 100%. A lender that you like, but once you find them, I mean, by all, just try to stick with them because it, like I said, it's going to make things just a lot easier. And I like working with, brokers better than I do going straight to the bank because I feel like a
direct lender,
more personal. Yeah, they're going to give me more personal attention than if I call an 800 number every time I got to talk to somebody about my loan.
Yeah, and you're not gonna. It's going straight to a call center. Here, let me pull up your file. Well, it says we're still waiting on this document. It's like, well, I delivered that document a week ago. What do you mean it's not there?
Yeah,
then it's like completely out of touch. And next, you're gonna ask for an extension. And in this market, sellers are really quick to go back on market because they could have like 5 other offers or 3.9 offers per sold home on average for the nation.
And that's the last thing you want stopping you from getting a house. I mean, you're going to have some rejections on your offers, but the last thing you want is a rejection because like your offer won and then all of a sudden you can't get your loan stuff situated and then you lose out on the house on that side of it. And that's just, man, that would be heartbreaking.
Because you're out of a couple grand on that deposit. And inspections and appraisal. So it's not good. And now you have a bad taste in your mouth, and which is also one of our biggest downfalls of our industry or our biggest complaints is the fact of our communication.
Yes.
So
that's
something that you and I strive on. That's why we like doing this podcast.
That's right. Communicate. So even if we're not talking to you on the phone, we're giving information here, and you come watch us. You can come listen to us.
Come and watch and listen.
So we talked about getting your finances in order, and and going to that. I mean, you really got to dig into your finance because that's what your loan officer is going to do. They're really going to dig in there. They're really going to look at your income, your outgoing money, and and don't be embarrassed about it. I mean, it does seem sort of invasive when people start talking about, but it has to be done. It's got to be done, and don't hide anything. Don't fudge
because they will find out.
They will.
They will find out,
and it will get to the underwriting process, and then you'll find out a few days before closing that, hey, something's wrong here. We can't close now. We can't approve the loan or something.
Yeah.
So
because the person either committed mortgage fraud or they or you just lied on your application. But hypothetically, once you get approved, what's next?
Yes.
All right. So at that point, now you are allowed to go shopping. So once you get approved and you have your agent, you eventually should be shopping at that point. So that way you can understand your needs. And hypothetically still, even if you're 6 months out or even a year out, you're pre-approved. So why not actually dip your feet in the pool? So go out there and visit some properties and learn your needs versus your wants. Because, when you're sitting there on the couch and you're just kind of looking through homes like, oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. Right. Or I need that. And then next, you actually start viewing these homes in person. You're just like, Yeah, what I thought I needed, I actually don't need. But I
Right.
do want this. All
Like a
right, I want
fireplace in
that.
Florida.
Yeah,
I thought I needed a
uh,
fireplace in Florida, but it's like 80
yeah,
degrees year round and I don't need one.
yeah, exactly. Or like like a need is a 3-car garage
Right.
for your motorcycles and whatnot. It's just like, but then when you actually start seeing homes, you're like, maybe I don't need a 3-car garage. So there's it's okay to dip your foot in the pool even 6 months or a year out from now. That way you can
Hmm.
actually see it. Like it's window shopping.
Correct.
And if so happens that like the perfect house comes around and everything lines up, it's more than affordable, then
Yeah.
you wanted to purchase that, well, you're now qualified, you're now pre-approved. You
Right.
can actually take that extra step if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And or if you wanted to hold off effectively until that year or that 6 months, you now have a better understanding of what your wants versus your needs are. So
Right.
definitely that would be the next step, is getting your feet wet,
Yep.
seeing some homes.
Yes. And so when you go to look at these homes, I encourage, whether it's, digital notes or you take a pen and a pad, when you go see a house, start making some notes because I mean, my memory is fairly good, but I'm not, if I go and look at like 5 houses in a day, I'm not going to remember everything about those houses. So I tend to take notes
Yeah.
and I write down, what I liked, what I didn't like, and then I review them at the end of the day to see, okay, what out of these homes, what do I want? What do I need? Like, what are my wants
Hmm.
versus needs, and start really narrowing it down. Um,
Yeah. One of my things to do is I definitely advocate never seeing more than 4 homes in a
yes.
day,
Yep.
because like you said, you will not remember house number one.
No.
And one of the things that I do, unless you're like an out of state buyer, you're coming down for only the weekend, you have to crunch in as much homes as possible. For that, a certain strategy that I like to implement, even for like if I have one buyer, Miss Looney, um, she works so much that we sometimes, like tomorrow, I have to cram in like 6 homes in a day.
Mhm.
So sometimes what we'll do, or what I'll implement, is see home one. All right, we have a good
Right.
understanding of it. Go to home two.
Mhm.
Once you're done with that, have a quick conversation. So, Miss Looney, did you like this home versus the first home? Yeah, I like this home a lot better than the first one. Okay, X nay the first home. That you're doing a mental check off versus
Right.
this one.
You're
So
eliminating before you
you're
even move on.
eliminated. Exactly. So some people are really good with those notes, but having a quick dialogue before proceeding to the next one: is this house better
Mhm.
than this one or that one? This one's better. Or the first house was better. All right, so eliminate this house, go to the third house. All right, did you like this house better than the first one? Oh, I like this one. I like this one better than the first one. All right, cool. First one's out.
Yep.
Now you have a
Because
new one on.
you will get overwhelmed. You will buy a house,
Yes.
3, 4, 5. If you're seeing that many, you will be overwhelmed, and
Mhm.
you're gonna be tired. There's a lot of driving, even if it's short distances. It's just the
Yeah.
fact that you're going in a house, going back to your car, getting in, and then driving to the next one. You get out, go in the house. I mean, it becomes repetitive, but it wears you out, and you're gonna
Especially going in the
forget.
summer months. Yeah.
And this,
Especially
yes,
in the
when
summer months.
it's
I
hot
tell my
outside,
buyers,
and yes,
bring something to drink and bring a snack,
yes,
because
absolutely,
you're gonna be hungry, thirsty,
yes,
and just mentally fatigued. And
yep.
it's gonna be, especially if you're driving across counties. Ooh,
Oh, I know.
it's gonna be
Yep.
brutal.
Well, and that's why it's a good idea to really start narrowing down maybe a location. So, I mean, I talk to some buyers
Mm.
every once in a while. I mean, and they'll tell me, well, anywhere in Central Florida. I'm like, okay, that's a big area, Central Florida. Anywhere in Central Florida.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's. I mean, at least maybe if not one county, but a couple of counties. Really start figuring out, where do you want to be, and
Hmm.
what's around you. What do you want to be close to? Do you want to be close to theme parks or a beach, or what? So I mean, you're not just figuring out your needs and wants in the house itself, but you're figuring out your needs and wants of what do you want close by you. uh, Grocery stores, shopping centers,
Hmm.
if you're looking for
Entertainment, bars,
entertainment.
and like that.
Yeah, if you're looking for acreage, you might have to, you might be okay with being a little bit further out from shopping, but because you want some land, or maybe you
Mm,
want both of it. And so you really got to start figuring out what's going to be, where do you want to be? So, I mean, I know sometimes it's hard for people to figure out exactly, what neighborhood and, whatever, but at least start
mm,
getting an idea of the area. So then that way, because otherwise, I mean, you'll run yourself crazy trying to run all over
yeah.
town,
And the
looking
things,
at a house. And
if you also too, if you're going to be driving because you really just don't know, you're open to so much areas, that what you could do too is something I also recommend is um, do a certain area a day.
right,
So if you're looking at Apopka per se, look at 3 or 4 homes in Apopka. The next day you're open to Deltona. Just drive over there and see a couple homes, and then you'll be like, okay, what area of town did you like more? Oh, I
hmm,
happen to like Apopka a little bit more. It's a little closer
right,
to things, because
right,
Deltona, let's be honest, Deltona is one giant neighborhood, whereas
right,
Apopka, you still have some things that are around and it's close to do.
right.
And then that's how you can truly narrow down an area. See a couple
Yep.
homes within an area. That way, as you're driving around, you're getting familiar. Like, okay,
Correct.
okay, I want
And
something a little more slower. I want something
this
more
is
busier.
where this is where agents come in handy, because you can call them up if it's one that's been, they've lived in the area for a while. I don't live right now. I don't live in Central Florida, but I grew up in Central Florida, so I'm very familiar with what's around and the entertainment in different areas. I'm over in New Smyrna Beach now. Um, but this is where you would call your agent and say, "Hey, this is, I want to be close to theme parks." All right, cool. You're going to be over towards International Drive in Orlando. You're going to be, or Kissimmee. You're going to be close to theme parks, and you have shopping all around you and everything. So this is where the research part of it, and using your agent as a resource to start figuring this stuff out. What's up, George? He just said hello in there in
What's
the
up,
chat.
George? What are you drinking tonight?
Yeah, George, what are you
Let us
drinking?
know.
I know.
Don't say water.
Um, no, don't say water. No, I bet he's drinking some 12-year something.
All right, we'll see. We'll
Um,
see.
we'll see. But
All right.
so
Once you narrow
as
down like, hypothetically speaking, once you narrow down your area and you yet maybe just don't have a realtor yet, but you know
okay,
exactly what you're approved for. Let's go through this
mm-hmm,
hypothetical, and we're going through the home buying process, because as of right now, we're assuming that people have an agent too. So what do you do
okay,
when you look for an agent? Like, how do you just meet the first one? You just go with the first person? Like, majority of people don't necessarily ask proper questions, or don't know
right,
that they can ask questions of the realtor
right,
that's representing them. Because
right.
think
You're
about it.
you're hiring the realtor. You're hiring them.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
you know
So as a buyer, you have the right to interview these
yeah,
people that are going to represent you.
correct,
So there are some things that you should ask to ensure that the person, that the complete stranger that you're about to have and trust to guide you through this one of
mm-hmm,
your most expensive purchases of your life. You want to make sure that this person is qualified. We do
right.
live in a world where there's in our area we have over 21,000 licensed real estate agents, where less than 17-18% of them are full time,
So say
and
that number
then
again.
less than 17
No,
to
the
18.
how
Oh,
many agents are in
21,000
21,000?
licensed agents
Correct.
in
So
the Central Florida market alone. Okay,
just in
that's a
Central Florida,
lot,
not
just
in
in
the
Central
entire
Florida.
state, just in
That's
Central
not,
Florida. It's a
yeah,
lot of agents.
that's a lot of agents. And then on top of that, of that percentage, 21,000, about
Mm-hmm.
17 to 18% are do this full time. Less than that, around that same number, are those who have been in the game for more than 3 years. And then of that, who make it to year 5 is even less. So, what does that tell you? There
Mm-hmm.
is an abundance of part time agents who are in our market. So, if you are looking to spend $250,000 and you're risking, you know, 3,000 to 4 to 5 to $6,000 of an escrow, you need to make sure that the person that you're hiring that you're supposed to trust, is more than qualified. So some of the questions that I recommend asking is, how long have you been in the business? How many sales did you do last year? How many of those were buyers versus sellers? May not matter,
Yes.
but it's that's a question I think you should know. It's like, is this person a predominantly a buyer's agent? Is this person a predominantly a seller's agent? Are you a team? Are you the person that I'll be working with, or am I going to be pawned off to someone else? Do you have partners? Let's see, what is your how long you can see this too. You can ask for them if they are hesitant to show you their production report, because let's be honest, every agent likes to show off their production report. I am one of them. If you want to see my report, yeah, absolutely, I'll show you my report. Like, let's be
Right.
honest. So, oh, Glenlivet, great choice,
Yeah, the
George.
18
18
year.
year. I don't
That was
think I've
close.
ever had that one. I don't think I've ever had the 18. That sounds good.
I bet it
Um,
is.
but I think it's really important, Jared, that you, as a buyer, you should be, even an experienced buyer, you need to be known who you're gonna talk to, who you're gonna be trusting, especially if you're an out of state buyer. You know, let me see your
Right.
reviews. Do you have references that you can provide me
Right.
on on the process? And if ultimately you don't like what they say, if the person ends up getting defensive, maybe you made the right choice by asking those questions. Go
Right.
find somebody else. There's 21,000 people in Central Florida that you could find.
Right.
Someone's gonna know someone. And
Yes.
also ask them if they're full time versus part time. That's a big one.
Yep. The
Oh,
biggest thing is just interviewing, asking questions. Don't be afraid to
yeah.
ask the questions. I would rather you ask me questions because then that helps,
Hmm.
and there are, don't get me wrong, there are times where I might not be a good fit for you, or you might not be a good
Uh-huh.
fit for me, because, we're on two different, pages, and we do things a little bit differently, and, each agent has their own process and their own methods. So again, it's don't take offense to, or I never take offense if somebody's asking me questions. I encourage it.
Yeah, I welcome
So
it too,
yeah,
100%. In fact, as
yeah,
part of my presentation is I ask for their concerns and if they have
mm-hmm,
any questions to start off, and then I express my concerns, because think about it, you are more than likely two complete strangers trying to get to know each other.
right,
So you're trying to build a relationship. You're trying to, and actually, I have a part of my presentation um, saying that, like, I don't expect your trust. I want to earn your trust, but it's hard to
right,
do that if we can't communicate with each other. Okay.
correct, yeah,
So, and allowing that opportunity, because, when two strangers come together, they're not always going to work well with each other. I fired people and I've been fired. So
right,
it's just how it goes. And just remember too, if you start working with someone and you think it's going well, um, you can always fire that person in the middle, of the contract, or even before the contract while you're showing homes. Like, if this person's not working out well for you, just tell them, or go find someone else and be like, how do I tell this person I want to work with them anymore? And honestly, you have to tell them up front that, hey, Chris, um, I appreciate everything you've done this far, but it's not working. For me, our relationship is not working. I'm gonna go find somebody else. And based on that person's reaction, if I came off hostile,
mm-hmm,
that tells you right there, you made a good decision. If that person is a true professional, then we're going to respond with, okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. I am very thankful you brought it to my attention.
right,
I do have a quick question. What was it that made you make this decision? That way I can learn from this experience and better my business. That way I can help the next person and not waste anybody's time. And
right,
everyone that have had this has happened to me, have expressed themselves, and I've
mm-hmm,
learned from it, and I've been able to grow from it.
yes,
So it's okay to fire people, because true professionals will act like a professional.
right, yeah, and it's like you said, it's not an offensible, or offensive kind of thing. It's just
it's
it's
okay to
not
be
gonna
offended.
right. I mean, yeah.
It's
So
just how
that's the
you
whole
react. It's how you react though. That's where I'm
exactly
getting at. It's okay to be offended,
exactly
but it's just how do you react to that offense?
right. There's no hurt
So,
feelings, you know.
no, not in my business.
As long as everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, and
Hmm.
it's not going to be an issue. But like I said, yeah, it's ask the questions. So the long story short, from that, the big takeaway is interview more than one agent. Don't just call one agent and say, hey, that's who I'm going to work with. Really
Yep.
figure out, just no different than you would get multiple. You should get multiple estimates on any sort of construction or anything you're going to do. You're going to get multiple estimates. Talk to a
Hmm.
few agents and
Yeah.
figure, find out which
Well,
one who's going to be best.
probably one of the worst things I've seen people do on social
Yeah.
media is post, "I need a good real estate agent."
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Just
Yeah.
they get bombarded
They
with
do.
with
They do.
agents.
They do.
Bombarded.
I try to stay away from those posts. And
Hmm.
actually, it's funny you say that because I saw one earlier today. Somebody had posted, oh, I'm looking for a house, and so I forget where it was. And then there was like literally 100 comments, like 5 minutes after it was posted, with just,
Yep.
it wasn't even like, hey, here's a house. It was just tagging people, tag, 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 tag.
Yep.
And I'm
Yep.
just
And
like,
then
oh my
that
gosh.
person messages get just blown up, and then they're
Oh
just like,
yeah.
"Oh my god,
Hey,
like
use
I
me. Hey,
didn't
use
expect
me. Hey,
this."
use
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
if you're trying to find a good recommendation, chances are that people, they don't kind of verbally verbalize it. But
right.
ask one of a really good friend,
Yeah.
or someone who owns a house that you know and you trust. Like,
Yeah.
hey, John, do you know who did you use to buy your house? Oh,
Right.
I used Jared. Okay, how is he?
Right.
He was all right.
Hey,
Would
hey,
you
hey,
use him
now, hey,
again?
now, hey,
No.
now. Yeah, he was all
Yeah,
right.
he's all
No, he
right.
was the best damn
Yeah.
realtor I ever worked with, is what he's
That's what
gonna
I'm supposed
say. I
to
tell you.
say. Yeah. Yeah, but that person is going to tell you the truth. Like, would you use him again? Yeah, absolutely. He was awesome. He was there for me. He answered my calls.
Right.
Told me everything that I wanted to do. Awesome. Cool. Let me get their number. Boom. Right there. That's
Yeah.
that's how you get acquainted with agent number one. And then
Right.
go to somebody else. It's like, what'd you think of your buyer's agent? Ah, man, probably wouldn't use them again. Cool. Agent number one,
Yep. Yep.
go have that
Yep.
conversation. Same thing when it
Yep.
comes to listing your house. Like, if you've never listed your house or never sold your home before, or a property, especially like when it comes to land or something special, like a condo, that's a unique scenario. Land is very unique scenario. Um,
Yes.
and and so you want to kind of poke around,
Mm-hmm.
and then also go through Zillow. Zillow is actually a pretty good one. You go to Agent Finder, and then you can just choose agents in your area, and then go off of the reviews.
Right.
And then you'll see who are teams, who are not teams.
Mm-hmm.
You can also look at the number of sales, where the sales are located. And then also, if you are looking to list a property, look in your neighborhood and then see what's listed pending. Okay, well, this one's listed as active. It's been on the market for about 5 weeks, whereas this one next door has been on the market for 4 days and it's pending. Who is this agent? All
Right.
right, it's so and so. How long
Right.
have they been? You can see their tracker. Oh, they've been in the business for 12 years. They have sold 200 homes. Okay. All
Right.
right, let me call this person. You're verifying their credentials right then and there on the spot. You know, so you kind of have to kind of think a little outside the box so you can get some information before you call a person. You can Google the person, see if they have a profile, Facebook,
Yep. Yeah.
they have a
Um.
profile, see how active. This Robin, we gave Jared's number to a friend of ours moving to Brevard County from
They
California.
sure did. Yes. No, from
Oh, sorry,
Colorado.
Steos,
Yeah.
Colorado.
There you go. That is. You're
That's
correct.
awesome.
So yeah, there. And
Cheers to Robin.
yeah, I appreciate the referral, and that's. I mean, like just like what Chris was saying, that's one of the best ways to find an agent. And still, even though you get recommendation or a referral, still interview, talk to that agent, talk to a couple other agents, and see, because like I said, you never know. It's a job interview essentially.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned Zillow, and that always seems to be like a taboo word in
It is.
our amongst agents. So shopping, and the reason I bring it up, so shopping online, that's where I think it's like 90% of the people start is shopping online. They don't call an agent; they
Yeah.
just start looking online. So as far as I mean, there's a ton of websites that you can go to. There's Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin. Um, I mean, those are like the three big ones. But then you can go to an individual's broker's an individual broker website, even an agent's website that might have some sort of platform where you can search for homes in a particular area. Is there one that you typically guide your buyers to look at other than maybe your own personal website? Or if you just happen to run into somebody and say, yeah, check it out on realtor.com, or I mean, what do you typically say?
For for I'm sorry, like for one aspect of like for just look at homes or to look for
Yeah,
agents.
just if you're out having a drink and somebody overheard the fact that you're a realtor, you're like,
Hmm.
yeah, I wanted to look online. Where should I start? What would you tell them? I mean, they
Oh,
don't know
well, I
you
would
from anybody else. So instead
yeah.
of aside from giving them your personal website information, what
Okay, I
else
got
would you
you.
say?
Uh, well, the thing is, I've never really given someone else other information other than my own. So,
Okay,
and then I just kind of guide them from there based on what they're looking for. I think that's some of the
right.
question I ask usually first, actually. Well, what are you looking for?
Or
I'm looking for a rental right now, or like, or I'm looking for the purchase, but I don't know where to start. It's like, okay, well, if you're looking to purchase or rent, like, let's exchange numbers. But if someone else,
Or
like, where to
let me put it
start?
this way. I mean, maybe they haven't even talked to an agent, and they're like, "Hey, I want to go online and look." I mean, what would you say?
Well,
Would
Well, I would tell them like they can go on my website again. Like this is all like these are all scenarios that were just like this is I got to look after myself and my business, and this is an opportunity to gain, a complete stranger's trust through my own experience.
right?
So it's kind of to say like I don't want your business is kind of the
Well,
exact
yeah,
opposite. Like I have to entertain every single lead that comes through to see if it's viable. But well, I guess what I can do is just I don't know, man. Like that's a question that I've never really considered pawning off to hey go look someplace else. You know, like in a complete stranger setting like that. I don't know.
right.
Because I
Okay,
don't know, that person who's asking me could be purchasing, like an $800,000 or wants to sell, like two homes. Like it could be that simple.
right,
As a businessman, like I have to explore that lead until it's a dead lead.
right. Um,
So I know unless you can phrase it in a different way. Listen, if I'm not understanding, I'm sorry.
well, I mean, basically, what I'm saying is, if somebody hasn't even reached out, let's say, hey, they're living in Colorado and they haven't even reached out to an agent yet, and they were
Uh-huh.
watching this and they don't, I'm not giving out, we're not saying our website or whatever. They can look us up if they want to, but if if you were gonna tell them, I mean, for me, I mean, heck, I go on Zillow, I go on Realtor.com
Mhm.
sometimes and look at stuff. They've got pretty decent platforms. My website is pretty good. My personal website, I don't have a search feature, but my website that I have through the brokerage, it has a search feature.
Mhm.
Um, but it's sometimes it's hard to compete with. A lot of people are comfortable with using Zillow, using Realtor.com or Redfin or whatever,
They
and they've already
yeah.
got. And the thing you have to be careful about, and I've run into this several times, is people are trying to, just recently when I had, or right now I had the property listed out in Pearson. I was getting tons and tons of phone calls, and I got one phone call from a gentleman who had been on Zillow. So this is what you got to watch out for: is it says on there contact the agent, the listing agent. You're not contacting necessarily that particular agent. You're just
No.
contacting a call center who's going to put you in touch with an agent in the area, and then
Yeah.
they will bombard you with phone calls after that.
Yeah.
And
And that's
yeah,
the Zillow and Realtor.com and all of them. They have a place. Okay, they have a
they do.
place in this world, but they are
Yep.
doing everything they can to smother the realtor and the realtor's name. So you used to be able to click on the listing agent's contact information or even their name to pull up their contact, but they can't do it anymore. It's so hidden down
Mm-hmm.
below, and you can't even click on their information. All it is their
Right.
name and their
Yep.
brokerage,
Yes.
and all it is, and it says like, "Here's the contact form." And then go ahead and hit up one of our, and you'll be blown the hell up from all
Yes.
the other call center agents and agents that literally pay thousands of dollars a month to get your information and
Mm-hmm.
then to close the deal on it.
Yep.
So,
So
you're
just
just,
beware
y-
when you're looking on
yeah,
those sites. I mean, it's like I said, they're good sites to if you haven't talked
yeah,
to anybody and you're just out
mhm,
casually browsing, yeah, sure, go on them, but just be aware that as soon as you click one
yeah,
of those buttons to contact an agent or you fill in your information, you're gonna
yeah,
get bombarded with phone calls, and
yeah. If you,
you're not gonna want.
yeah, if you happen to know where you're wanting to move and you want somebody that's hyper local,
Right.
type in, maybe Google search Altamont Spring real estate offices, and
Yep.
just kind of go through them. You have to call. You have to play a game of phone tag sometimes, and just kind of find an agent. And then what you can do before even meeting with them or committing with them, just like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
what's your name? What office are you at? And then go back into Zillow.com or Realtor.com and type in the agent finder who that person
Right.
is and do your own study. Go
Yeah.
through Facebook, go through Instagram, Google their
Yep.
name.
Yep.
And that way you can kind of do your own little research on who you want to work with, especially if you're like an out of state buyer or
Right.
seller.
Yep.
You can pick up the phone and out of 21,000 people, you could get lucky. And I've worked with a lot of out of state buyers before, and
Mm-hmm.
they've had tremendous experience, and they are probably like some of my biggest advocates because that is a scary scenario. You working with an agent that you've never met before, and
Right.
everything ended up being smooth as molasses. And like
Right.
I like to go the extra mile for all my clients, but when it comes to out of state buyers, I understand every concern that they have, and I
Yep.
go above and beyond to ensure it because they can't step foot in that property until they're able to step foot in that property. You
Yep.
know.
Yep.
So, um, if there's anybody has any questions about anything so far that we discussed regarding the lending side or
Yep.
finding an agent, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Like happy to circle back around to those.
Yeah.
And so what? So hypothetically, the next step after you've gotten pre-approved, you've gotten
Right.
your agent, you're looking at homes, and then you find a home.
You find
We're
one.
gonna we're gonna go ahead and put an
Now,
offer in.
now what? You put an offer in. And this, I mean, and
Yep.
for this, you definitely want to have an agent. Don't try to do this on your own unless you're very, unless you're good at figuring out the cost and a price, a good offer price and negotiations and things like that. You could get eaten up if you're not careful.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so So at this point, yes, you would have an agent. You've already looked at the homes. You've already found the home,
Hmm.
and you have an agent, and your agent's gonna help you figure out what a good offer price, what the strategy. I mean, you have a strategy before you even fill out the paperwork.
Yeah, you should.
Paperwork being as an offer. The as is contract.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's something that we're going to do too. We're actually going to cover the as is contract. That is the most
yes,
common prevalent contract right now in the state of Florida
yes.
is the as is contract. So
We're not
we
going to
will be
cover it
doing
tonight, but another
no.
episode we're going to do it because
Yeah.
it gets pretty. There's a lot to go over, but there's everything in it you should be familiar with because you are in the end you're putting your name on it, you're putting your signature, and it
Yes.
is a binding contract. You can be held liable.
Yeah.
You can be sued if you breach
Mm-hmm.
contract, and
Yep.
there's so yeah, we're definitely gonna to
Yeah.
go over all of that stuff.
Yep. And hiring a professional, and this is why it's so important to hire an agent that is very well experienced. And just because someone says they have 12 years experience doesn't mean they've
Right,
done it full time. They could have sold
right,
one or two houses. So essentially that person is essentially out of touch
right.
with what is happening on a more regular basis,
Correct.
like someone who's literally on the front lines every single day.
Yep.
So they're going to be able to tell you essentially what's winning, what's a
Mm-hmm.
strong offer, what's a
Right.
competitive offer,
Yep.
when you're being realistic, when you're being unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
um, and it really just, it all dictates on how the market is. And right now it is a seller's market, and it's going to be a seller's market for the next
Yes.
foreseeable future, for the next
All the
couple of
more
years.
important to have a strategy going into making that offer,
Hmm.
because if you don't have a strong offer, it's going to be the first one gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're,
And
it's just they're going to breeze
yeah.
right past it and move on to the other 20
Yeah.
offers that they might have.
Hmm. And you can't over leverage yourself. Like, this is why it's also important to have a good lender, because they're going to
True.
paint the financial scenario and saying, listen, you can't offer this because of this.
Correct.
You don't have the cash to be waiving the appraisal. You don't
Right.
have the capital to be going 20,000 above what you're pre-approved for. You know,
Hmm.
like, you can't really say, um, well, maybe they're desperate. It's like,
Nope.
if you were desperate to sell your property, would you be at the highest price point possible or the lowest price point possible? If you were desperate, you would be at the lowest point. So it doesn't mean you can't throw the dart, but you're going to be doing it like this, and you're not going to hit your mark,
Hmm.
because they're literally going to laugh you out the building. Not in this market.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and at that point, like, you're becoming a tire kicker and a window shopper, and
Right.
someone you're not
Yep.
serious. And a true professional is going to see it very quickly. And this is where I fired people before, because I
Okay.
see the writing on the wall. Yeah,
Hmm.
you got pre-approved, but now you're being unrealistic. It's like, I don't have time
Right.
for this. I got six other people that are more
Hmm.
serious than this person, putting in real
Right.
offers, and you are wasting my time. So,
Right. Yeah.
and if you're out there to buy a house in this market, actually
You
try
got
to
to
buy the
be,
house.
yeah, you got to be serious about it. This isn't a
Hmm.
casual market right now. So
No,
when the
no,
time comes, you got to be ready to pull the trigger, and you
yeah.
can't, hem and haw and figure
Try to
out,
renegotiate later. Oh, I want to change the
yeah,
terms of the contract. It's like,
I'm
no,
going to
it's not
wait,
happening.
or I'm going to wait a day cuz I need to, think about it. It's like
Yeah.
you got to be ready. You got to be serious, and it's but and it that kind of stuff can get scary though, because it's like, man, I don't want to lose a house, but I'm scared about spending so much money.
Yeah.
But that's where all that pre-planning comes into effect, where you've figured out your finances, and as long as you've done your homework, you shouldn't be as scared. I mean, there's definitely, I was nervous first time, my first house when I bought it. I was nervous. There's always going to be some unknowns. Um, but I mean, I was ready. I was ready.
Yeah. I
So
was ready when we bought this one. Um,
yeah.
it was we saw, I think over a course of like 2 days, we saw a lot of homes,
Mm-hmm.
and I was good to go. I was fine, but Bethany hit burnout.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah. And then the next day, which was January 1st, we actually saw, I think, like four more homes, and then one of them ended up being this one. And I kind of I want to say bullied. No, bully is not the right word. I pretty much just, I came in under. I asked for closing costs,
Mm-hmm.
and I applied my entire commission for more closing costs. So I ended up paying like just the down payment, and it was I wasn't really sweating it if we won it or not. I was kind of numb to it, but once we got it,
Right.
I was like yeah. I was like freaking out. Yeah.
Nice.
And my biggest argument though to the agent was like, it's not going to appraise. It's not going to
Right.
appraise. And wouldn't you
Well, and
know it,
that's
it praised for $500 more.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. But that's always a scary situation. I mean, you never, when you get there, even though it's like it's gonna praise, but there's always that little bit of a doubt. You're like, is it is it gonna praise like right on it? Is it gonna be just under? Is it gonna be just
Yeah.
or is it gonna be way off? There's always that little bit of, for me, excitement, but I know for the buyer, it's always like, oh crap, what's actually gonna happen here?
Yeah.
So
That's always like a possibility there for sure.
right,
And
right,
the so once you've submitted your offer,
right.
should we go in the hypothetical that your offer got accepted?
Well, so what happens when, let's just kind of brush over. So you submit an offer and you filled out the paperwork, you signed and everything, it gets emailed over to the sellers. There's basically a couple of things that can happen. Is the first one, one of the things is they can not respond at all. They can just stay
Mm.
quiet, and that pretty much is a rejection.
Yeah. Yeah,
They
they have
can,
that right. Some buyers have a hard time understanding like they can't just not say nothing to us, just like
absolutely they can.
absolutely.
And this is the one case where silence is not acceptance.
Yes.
So they can just stay silent. They don't have to write back anything. Typically you're going to get back something, but the
Or
other
this is an
thing is,
acknowledgement. Yeah.
yeah, there's a box on the contract where the sellers can actually check rejected. They can reject it formally and send it back to the buyers, or they can do a counter offer where basically that's part of the negotiation, right? So you're negotiating terms, not necessarily just the price point, but it might be an escrow, it might be a closing date, it might be, any of the terms in the contract can be negotiated.
Yep.
Or they can write you back with, they'll send you back the contract and all the documents with all of their signatures, and that means they've accepted. You have won the offer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's super important though that the document is complete. Like
yes,
signatures and
yes,
initials, and
especially if you've
it's a
gone through,
clean contract. Clean
yes,
contract. You can't
especially
just
if
have
you've gone
markups.
through several iterations of negotiations back and forth. So what happens is we do these strike throughs on, price or whatever we're amending, and every strike through has to have an initial from the buyer and an initial from the seller, all the parties that are involved.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't like to, and what I think, when you're talking about a clean contract, for one of them is, if I start getting a bunch of strike throughs, I usually just recommend, all right, we've finally got a new, we're settled on, we've negotiated everything, all the terms, we're settled on all the terms. Let's go in and get rid of all these strike throughs, and let's just fill out a brand new contract, because it can get confusing with all of the initials and the strike throughs and everything. It can get very confusing. So it's
Yep.
easier just to fill out a new one and have everybody sign a clean contract.
I could not agree more, because when you have that many versions going back and forth of strike
Yes.
throughs and everything like that,
Yes.
it can get very chaotic. And then
Yes.
at that point, in the event that you end up having to go to court, oh,
Yes. It gets very confusing.
it gets, well,
Yep.
when did this happen? When did that happen? Like, okay,
Right.
I noticed we brought, and then you're trying to recreate the story in front of a
Right.
judge and in front of lawyers, and like ultimately it could not go your way. So and especially if it's the wrong version. So having the cleanest presentable contract possible is
Yes.
always the way to go. Um,
Yes.
Now I have done some contracts where like a name was misspelled. So I'm just like, oh fuck this, I'm not having
Right.
everyone like re-sign just because of a name. And what you do
Yep.
is like an addendum clarifying the name, and that's
Correct.
simple enough.
Yep.
But when you have like more than like 3 strike throughs going on, clean contract. We're all doing this
Yep.
right now, so there is no ifs, ands, or buts. Because the last
Yep.
thing you need, I don't care how good of a professional it is, they are. You can't
Right.
stop a scenario from occurring as
Right.
much as you try if it's going to happen, and if you end up going to court, it's better to go to court with a clean contract where everyone
Correct.
has signed, and then hopefully all it is just a simple escrow dispute.
Correct. And
That's
yeah, and it's so I'm right there with you. My max is 3, depending on what we're modifying, because some parts of that contract it gets, there's not a lot of room to really strike out stuff
Yeah.
and put in the new thing. Plus, you got to have everybody initial it. So
Yeah.
depending on, but yeah, it just makes it so much easier, especially if you know if something were to happen to your agent and where maybe they're just out of the picture altogether. They just skip
Mhm.
town, and then now you have this jumbled contract of stuff, and then you have no idea what was signed when and when did it come. So it's just
Mhm.
yeah, just have just do a clean, have your agent just redo a clean contract, and then yeah, it's
Yep.
very very easy to read and
And
understand. And
a warning to lawyers: don't try to change the contract. Don't
yeah,
try to manipulate it or butcher it. Like, you're not a real estate attorney,
right.
so
it's
stay in your
it's
lane.
yep.
Please, just stay in your lane. All right. We're not coming up to you to try to change contracts when we ask for your help. Yeah, sure,
Right.
client, I'll help you. Just go ahead and sign this. Like, yeah, I
Yep.
don't like this section. I'm going to cross that out. You're going to be like, no, you can't do that. So same
Right.
thing
I mean,
applies. Don't
and
don't try.
it's just gonna
Doctors,
make it
lawyers,
harder for
for
everybody to
them.
understand. I mean,
Hmm.
if you start crossing out stuff, the seller's gonna be like, ah, now I have to go get a lawyer to figure out what he's crossing out, because so it
Yeah.
becomes a cluster.
Cluster F for sure.
So yes.
I'm in agreement.
So we've got the acceptance. We've got everything. We have now a bilateral agreement, a bilateral contract. We've both parties have signed, and
Hmm.
we have agreed on the purchase price of the home and all the terms. So now it's go time. There's deadlines you got to meet. I mean, you got to start loan. Hopefully you already have your pre-approval, but if you haven't already started your loan application or getting all your
You
documents together
should.
then man, you've got a lot of work to do. You've got escrow deposits that you got to now, usually the typical is within 3 days. So you got to be
Yes.
aware of that. What else? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you got to be, and hopefully your agent sends you.
The
So usually I send out a timeline as soon as we go under contract. I make a
Mhm.
timeline that says your escrow is due here. Your inspection period ends on this day at this time. Your loan should be done here. Your closing date is this day. So
Mhm.
I go through and I create a timeline and I send it directly to the client so they're not forgetting what is going to happen next.
Yep. And they can't come back and say, well, you didn't tell us. Like, I
Right.
actually, one, it's in the contract. Two, it's in an
To
email that I forward you.
correct.
So,
Yeah.
as realtors, we also cover our bases, and also it just makes it less headache for us the more
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
informed. All right.
Yep.
It doesn't mean you can't ask questions. We want you to ask questions.
Oh yeah.
But like when it's stuff that you have already been informed of, um, if you want clarity, that's one thing. But if you're just kind of acting negligent, like you're creating your own headaches at that point. Um, but
Yep.
the first week as a buyer, the first week and a half is probably the most chaotic, because not only do you have to do the escrow, you also in the escrow deposit. Okay, so what's an escrow deposit? Escrow deposit is when you submit an offer over. It's just paper. All right. So you have to have skin in the game. The seller has skin in the game because he's taken his house or property off the market in
Correct.
hopes that you perform,
Correct.
to the terms of the contract, because he's waiting on you. You're not waiting on them.
Right.
Okay.
It's a good faith deposit. It's a good
Exactly.
faith that I'm going to buy this house, and if I breach contract, you win
You
my
would.
escrow. You win
Correct.
the
And the
escrow.
escrow, the common escrow deposit is 1% of that
Yep.
purchase price. $200,000 home, $2,000 escrow deposit, and
Mm-hmm.
goes on from there. $8,000 home, you're looking at $8,000 to $10,000 deposit. The larger the home, the more you want to deposit. Right now,
Correct.
I don't know about you, Jared, but on even 200,000 to 250 to 300,000, I'm seeing on average $5,000 deposits. They are
Yeah.
forking it up. They're trying to convey
Yeah.
as much seriousness as possible. If you
Correct.
have that kind of leverage, do it. I recommend
Yeah.
it. If you don't have that kind of leverage, if all you have, if you're in a scenario to where all you have is enough for a down payment and some closing costs, you
Mm-hmm.
can't be over leveraging yourself like that. All right. So you want to be, um, you have to be smart with what you have the ability to do so that's what
Yep.
an escrow deposit is, what typically 1%.
Yep.
Now after that, you're during that time you're also going to be introduced to the next step of the lending process. You're going to have to get
Yes.
documentation in. You're going to be
Yep.
introduced to the processor. You're going to have to sign a bunch of forms called
A bunch of
disclosures.
forms. Yep.
That's going to have to be done within 3 days. Your escrow
Yep.
deposit is going to have to be done within 3 days. You're
Yep.
going to get introduced to the title company who's going to request of you to deposit the escrow within that 3 days. I'm going to tell you, hey, we have to schedule inspections. Inspection period is commonly 7 days, but it's even getting shorter right now. I'm seeing 5, 4 days, 3 days inspection period. So we have to get an inspector.
Yes.
We have
Yep.
to look at their services. What is a requirement of the property? Oh, well, the property was built in 1932. It's like, oh shit. So I need a wind mitigation report. I need a 4-point report. I
Yep.
need a general, God forbid if it's on a septic tank. So,
Yep.
like it becomes very, very, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jared, but it becomes very like anxiety driven for the buyers sometimes during this first week.
Yep.
And you have 4 weeks to go, four or 5 weeks.
Yeah, those first few days, especially when you have a condensed inspection period like that, it's gonna get hectic. But that's where but I usually forewarn the buyers that say, hey, when we go bilateral, when everything is signed and executed, we already have, your agent should already have a plan in place. He should already, be in an inspector's ear saying, hey, I'm about to go bilateral and I'm gonna need an inspection on Monday. I'm going to, or whatever day, because we've only got 4 days. And the inspectors, they understand that. They know what the market is right now. And we actually just did our last episode. We talked about home inspections, our last live episode. We also did a dram style, which is a shorter version of our live shows. So the shorter version being like 15 to 20
minutes.
Yeah. And it's a quick listen. But we talked about the home inspection and what it covers, everything from, like you mentioned earlier, wind mitigation. We talked about everything that has to do with home inspections. And so make sure, if you're interested in that, go back and listen to one of those episodes. You can find them on
episode 11
YouTube or our Facebook page, or you can find them on the audio version. But
Spotify.
On Spotify, yes.
Yeah.
So
I love Spotify.
Yes, I know. I still, I'm still looking for my stats. I don't know. I don't understand how you find your stats, nor do I really care. So
it's so great.
I don't really
That's
need to
awesome.
know what I've been listening to, whatever.
Oh, okay.
No.
But it's so that first week, that solid week, is going to be very, very, very chaotic, and it's going to be go, go, go. But you would be educated by your agent, like what's going to happen. Here's what's going to here's all the contact of people that's going to be reaching out to you. Here's what you need to do. Just address it one at a time. Those who are like super organized, they love this shit. They love it. They love it. They're like, yes. Because they gives them a sense of accomplishment. If you're inherently lazy, oh man, you better tell the person up front, because you're going to be asking for about a 40-day close instead of a 30.
Yes.
So, because the average closing right now is about 30 to 35 days. And that's actually really rushed. All right. That's a rushed closing. Like we should be honestly looking at a healthy closing with everyone just kind of making sure everything is right. It should be about 35 to 40 days.
Yeah, I usually plan about 35 to 40 days, but
Mhm.
I've had occasions. I mean, with Greg, from the mortgage firm, we did an FHA and we had it closed in 30 days. So I mean, it was
Yeah.
done deal,
Oh
signed,
yeah.
sealed, delivered in 30 days.
I
So I mean, it
I
was
get deals done in 30 days because I predominantly work with Greg. Um, and so like he and I work so well together because
hmm
um we also educate. Thank you, baby. We also
Hi,
educate our
Bethany.
buyer. Man, she came in. I needed a piece of ice.
Oh, that's nice of
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, she's amazing. I usually
Yeah.
have like a canister for like all my ice, so I can just
Oh,
kind
I
of pick it
gotcha.
up and put it in there. But I completely
Gotcha.
forgot to set it up. So,
Yeah, it's all good.
um, so I lost my track of thought. What were you?
Um, are you talking about loans and getting them done in 30 days? And
Oh yeah, so Greg and I we do a really good job with
yeah.
educating our buyers of what to expect because here's a good analogy that I use often if for the loans. Once you're under contract, imagine you're going. It's Thanksgiving Day. You're in line for the grocery store, and you're on the checkout. You are 6 people deep. Each person's got like 100 items, and you have the cashier. The cashier is your underwriter, and the only way an item's getting through is one at a time. And you never see an item skip each other from one basket
hmm
to the next. The person who's pushing the basket is your loan officer. All right, and they are waiting their turn to get to the underwriter, who's the
hmm
cashier. And
Right.
inside that cart are buyers. Every item
Yes.
is a buyer. Boom, boom. And that underwriter is just scanning and scanning and scanning. And eventually something's going to go ding. Oh, uh,
What's this?
price check on aisle 4, price check
Right.
on cashier 4. Now you have an issue.
Jesus.
Guess what? You need to step out of the line. You need to address your documents. You need to provide more documents. You need an
hmm
explanation letter for this.
Right.
And we have to wait on you. And guess what happens? You don't get skipped. You don't get to come back into the middle once you've done that.
Right.
You have to wait your turn again.
Yep.
And so every day that you delay providing that document, there's more people getting in front of you.
Yes.
And that ultimately delays your closing.
You have to be super attentive when it comes to, you know, yes, the
Yeah.
inspection, you got to get that done within a certain amount of time, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to address any concerns within the inspection period. And if you don't, then, that's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the loan stuff, I mean, you need to be, Johnny on the spot. You need to be checking your emails daily or hourly or whatever, making sure that you answer any phone call, step out of meetings, or call them back within 20 minutes to figure out what the heck I need to do, and
Yeah.
just be ready on standby to provide whatever documentation. I mean, there was a number of times when I was buying, my first house, and then, the house I'm in now, there's plenty of times where I got a phone call and they're like, "Hey, Jared, we need a bank statement from blah, 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 blah." I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh crap. I totally forgot to give you that because I have like 5 different bank accounts." Okay.
Yeah. And also,
Send you
like,
that,
yeah. And like, we do understand that, like, I have 2 jobs. I have kids that I have to feed. I don't have time for this. Like, well,
but you
if
got
you
to
don't have
make
time
time.
for this, we can't, one, you have to make time. 2, you need to be upfront with, the lender and your
Right.
agent. So we're
Right.
not setting you up for failure. And what I mean
Right.
by that is, again, for the closing date, if you have a 30-day close, and you're too busy and you wait 3 days to get a simple document in, you
Right.
just delayed your closing by 3 days. Now, we
Correct.
understand that some documents take time, such as a tax transcript. Like for me,
Mm-hmm.
I had to order my tax transcript and it said, oh, it'll come in the mail for a week. I don't have fucking time for that. I can't do
Holy
that.
crap.
I had to make an appointment in Haines City for IRS because that was the earliest appointment I can get. I had to
Oh my
drive
goodness.
in the deep Haines City just to sit down.
Yeah.
I need this form and this form. Sure, no problem. I was in and out in 5 minutes, and I had to drive 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes to that. I kind of had the ability to do so, but if I wanted to close on time because that was part of the confines of the contract, I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And again, like every day that you delay this, you potentially delay your closing.
Right.
So it's super important. And you're going to come across this. Yeah, go ahead, Jared. Go ahead.
You got to be Johnny on the spot. You got to be ready to provide documentations and whatever. And even, I mean, if you already have just send them everything you have. I mean, that's what I did and I just let them sort through. And if they don't need it, they don't need it. But I would rather them have more information than they need than, sending me a bunch of stuff.
Sometimes.
And I've got to scramble. Yeah, for the most part.
Sometimes you don't want to. You don't want the underwriter asking more questions that needs to be asked.
Correct. But I mean, you know that they need all your, your bank account statements. They know, you got to provide. So
tax transcripts, W-2s, 1099s. If you're individual,
start getting it. And that's something. These are all things that you can actually start gathering during the beginning before you even, while you're still in the looking phase. You can take time to start gathering this information. You can just create your little folder on your computer and just start throwing a bank statement, start throwing, your tax forms, start putting W-2s, start putting everything in this little folder. So when the time comes, you just take that folder and zoop, it goes right to the lender. Done.
Yep. That's exactly what I say. That's exactly what I say to my buyers.
Don't wait until they ask you for it. And you're like, oh, okay. And then because you're going to get literally a checklist that's like this long. You're going to get a huge checklist of items that you need to bring. And if you've already got half of them, well, guess what? Your checklist just shrunk in half.
Yep. So and all you need is just continuing documentation at that point. And it makes your life so easy.
Correct.
And you're going to be like, yeah, this buying a house was a breeze. Whereas your friend's going to be like, really? Well, it was a freaking nightmare. Well, that kind of tells you, a couple things about that person's experience,
Right.
Either they were the nightmare, the agent was the nightmare, the lender was a nightmare, or all three of them were nightmares, and it was a perfect storm.
Yep.
So it's
and this, this is all part of too when you're looking for an agent. I mean, a good agent is going to help you. They're going to prepare you for this, so they're going to help you through it. And if they haven't, man, that's a bummer because these are all things that agents know about. They know it's coming. The home buyer doesn't necessarily know the entire process, but the agent should know what's going to happen. So they, if you did your interviews with the agents, you would have figured out. It's like, hey, this guy doesn't sound like he's going to give me all the information and guide me through and be preemptive with helping me get the the stuff that I need and everything. So that's where it comes in handy to figure out, doing those interviews and who, talking to several different agents. So, so we've gotten the contract accepted. We've gone through the inspection period. We talked about the escrow. And then basically
the documentation is the lull. I call it the lull. So after the inspection period begins the lull process.
So and when you say that, I usually my next thing or the next email I send. So after the inspection period, and I'm ensured that the loan process is going, the application and everything is going with that. I usually send an email to the client and say, hey, there's not a lot, there's no back and forth between the sellers. We're probably not going to hear much from them. If you have questions, shoot me an email, call me, text me, whatever. But there's not a lot of, back and forth dialogue. It was because what happens is people get real excited and there's a lot of stuff going on. We got, we're negotiating. We signed. Now we got inspections. Now we got loan applications. And it's like crickets.
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
And you're
and then people get
they start
nervous.
Freaking out.
Right. They get nervous. So don't get nervous because of, there's nothing going on. It's just because you had that intense,
first week and a half
to where everything, all this stuff was happening. And then all of a sudden it's nothing. That's fine. It's okay. Because now this is the time that you're taking to get everything done. So
Yeah, because it's at this
exciting.
point,
It's exciting.
yeah, it's exciting. And but this low point is just like, what's happening? I haven't heard anything. What's going on? And that's because at this point, we're in the appraisal process. The appraisal was ordered during the inspection phase. The
Right.
appraisal takes about 2 weeks once it's ordered. The
Right.
appraiser has 2 weeks to get that back.
Right.
And so essentially, what you're doing is just kind of monitoring your emails at this point, and then watching what the processor is coming back from the underwriter saying, we need this document. Okay, cool. Get that
Mm-hmm.
document, get this
Right.
document, get that
Right.
document.
Right.
And then it's just going to be a slow up the ladder, back down the
Mm-hmm.
ladder, up the ladder, back down the ladder.
Yep.
And, like that's honestly, you're not going to hear from your agent during that time unless something is needed.
Right.
Unless an issue or a speed bump comes up or a next obstacle. Sometimes it could be the insurance. Hey, Chris, I'm having issues with the obtaining insurance. Okay, what's the issue? Well,
Right.
they're saying that the roof is too old. Oh, fuck. Okay. Well, you got to
Right.
deal with that. Then you're getting back into it over that course of time. But if it's say like a newer home, brand new roof, HVAC system,
Mm-hmm.
plumbing, like a early or mid 2000s, home, you're not going to have really these issues. But
Right.
regardless, that lull period is just going to be a very slow. And then the appraisal is something that you pay for up front. That's upfront costs. And then when that comes back in, that's when you essentially look at what the value is. Like, is the contract, or does the appraisal match the contract that you're paying for this house? Is it more, or is it less? So let's
Yep.
run scenario, Jared. What happens if the appraisal comes back too high, or higher than the purchase price? Not too high.
As I
There's
say,
no such thing. There's no such thing as too high.
Too high.
There's no such thing as too high. But
Yeah,
what
I mean,
happens if it comes back
essentially,
high?
if it comes back high, I mean, that's good for you. I mean, you that tells you a couple of things. Number one, you negotiated pretty damn good. Number two, you're gonna walk away in this house with some equity. So
Yep. So
those
you
are
actually
really good
gained
things.
money. Yep.
Yes.
So you actually gained money by walking into that house.
Yes.
And the one question I get a lot too is, well, do we have to tell the seller that they have that? Hell no. You
No.
do not tell the seller,
No.
because I've heard stories where the buyer's agent slips up and tells the seller, like, oh yeah, it was worth $5,000 more, and the seller is going to be like, well, I want to negotiate that. My
Right.
house is $5,000 more, so
Right.
I want that, and then it starts a shitstorm. So you're
Because then
only
the seller tries to sabotage the deal or whatever.
they
I
want
mean,
more money. I know I
they
can
want
get
more
more
money,
money
yeah.
now. Yeah.
But
So you can't slip up. You can't be telling them that.
yeah. But in reality, you're still under a contract, so they can't just come back and ask you.
Yeah.
Technically, legally, they can't just come back and ask you for more money just because it appraised higher, because you're under a contract. They would be breaching contract and then liable to be sued or whatever the case. You don't want to go down that road, but
No, you don't want it.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
let's not go
So
there.
if it appraises higher,
That's good.
if it appraises higher, it's a great thing. All right.
Yes.
Like even if it's like $10 more, like it means you came out on top. You did good with the negotiations. And if it comes in at value, another great thing. That's another good thing. All right. There's no issues.
That's great.
If the appraisal comes in and you hear the term subject to, so TOO, not the number 2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or TO, whatever it is. I can never get figured out that 2 word. If it's subject to repairs, that's the common thing. Subject to repairs. So it's a, hey, we'll give you, the home is appraised at $300,000, subject to the roof being replaced, or the hole being refixed, or the septic being inspected, whatever the case may be. And if you decide to ask the appraiser, well, what if we waive the subject to? What if we just say we're not doing that?
Mm-hmm.
I say, all right, well then now it's $280 for a price. We're like, oh shit, well I'm under contract for $300. Well, you just waived it, so that's what the price is. So are you going to go back to the seller and be like, hey seller, we can reduce the price $20,000, or you can get this thing fixed? Other than that, we can't move forward. And so the
Right.
seller, and so that's at that point you go back to the negotiations table
Right.
when during that appraisal process. And the same thing when the appraisal comes in lower. So say if you're under contract for 300 and the appraisal comes back at 280,
Mm-hmm.
well, you need to go back to the seller because the lender ain't going to give you a loan at $300,000 purchase price, knowing that the
Right.
home is only worth
$280.
$280,000.
Yeah. Correct.
So, what is
And there's
the what's up?
there's a there's a couple of different things, when you're filling out your contract. I mean, you can have the appraisal contingency to
Yeah.
where you're still, so if you don't put that in there, essentially you're still obligated to purchase that house if you can still get a loan, depending on what kind of loan you're going to get. So if you're doing a conventional, chances are you're still going to get the loan. You just have to put more money down. If you're doing an FHA, you basically have to get it comes basically, with an appraisal contingency.
Hmm.
So it has to appraise for the value that you're getting, or the purchase price.
Yeah, it has to or greater. Okay.
Right.
Unless, like you said, are waiving the appraisal. So if you're waiving the appraisal or if you have a gap coverage, and this is something that we should probably do like a DRAM style only kind of
Yeah.
video, going over like common things for the appraisal. So if
Right.
you're waiving the appraisal to a certain amount, that's one thing because you both agreed upon it. And at which point you have to provide proof to the seller that the appraisal came in order for that to occur. So,
Mm-hmm.
like it in this market, a lot of homes. So my wife Bethany, she works for Home First Lending, and she works on the processing side. And she's saying that she's seeing a lot of homes come under appraised. So it's starting to happen again. We're going into that wave again, Jared, where homes are starting to under appraise. So
Okay.
this
Yep.
is this is this was something that I kind of expected going into the spring and summer, and we're going to see more prevalence of it probably in, I want to say June and July. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so she's seen a lot more of it, and so we you have to be methodical, and it's also on the listing agent to be realistic too, and the buyer's agent too. Like I've never advocated to do more than what the buyer is willing and capable of doing. It's like,
Right.
well, you say you have a lot of liquidity. Well, here's your options. So what you can do, and I get asked this question. It's like, well, what do you recommend? Like, what would you do? It's like, not what would I do is completely different than what I can recommend what your options are.
Exactly.
And then that's it. You have to work within the confines of your own
Right.
thing, of your
And
own
and
financial situation.
I'm glad you brought that up, because here's the thing is, um
Mahalo, Derek.
mahalo. Uh wow, shoot, I lost my train. Oh,
I am so
so
sorry.
no, it's all good. Um so you're gonna have to make some decisions
Mm,
as a buyer. Your agent, so you can rely on your agent to give you advice, give you opinions, give you all the facts,
professional opinions.
professional opinions, exactly.
Yeah, make sure you
Um,
say that right. So,
yes. But as a buyer, you're ultimately going to have to be the one to make the decision of whether or not you can proceed, or you need to back out, or whatever the case is. Your agent isn't going to be the one to make these decisions for you, especially when it comes
yeah.
to like the bigger decisions. They can't tell you. They can recommend things, they can give you advice and things
Mm,
like that, but you have to be prepared to make the decisions based on the
yeah.
information that you have.
Yeah. I ask for clarity all the time. It's just like, okay, so just to be clear, you want me to do this? And they're just like, yes, I want you to do that. What's up, Fabio? That's a class. So Fabio is actually an out-of-state client. He lives up north right now, and he's looking to make a purchase down here. So we're doing that extra to make sure he's fully aware as possible. So welcome, Fabio. Really appreciate you chiming in here.
Yeah.
Same thing for you, Derek, and everyone else that's still with us. Um, but dude, I'm in a complete agreement with you. Like we can't tell you a biased opinion or a subjective opinion.
Right.
It's like when we get asked, like, is this a good area? Well, that's subjective. Like, what's a good
It
area
is.
for me might be not a good area for you.
Right.
So it's just like I can't necessarily tell you that, but I can tell you that
I can
in the
tell you the
past,
facts.
I can tell you the facts. I can tell you that in the past 6 months, we've had an increase of buyers over the next. We've had an increased sales where the purchase price has increased on like 10% month over month. So that shows
Hmm.
that this is a very highly demand area. If you look at greatschools.org, it shows that this county has a higher average compared to, Orange or Lake and something like that. So we can give you those facts to kind of help paint a picture. Well, how's the crime in this area? That's very subjective. I can't tell you that. But you
Right.
can go on realtor.com has got a good one,
Yep.
crimestats.com.
Yep.
There's so many other places that you
Yep.
can find these facts. And
Exactly.
also if you're local, drive around an area. It's like, well, I like the homes in this area. Why are they priced so well in comparison to others? And you drive around, you're like, oh, okay, you know, that makes sense. Like location, location, location. So you have to get acquainted. We can't tell you a biased opinion
Right.
when it comes to that, and especially when it comes to how to structure offers. We can give you what's winning, and then like what your competition is.
Right.
And then if you're comfortable with that, awesome. If you're not comfortable with that, that's completely fine. You know, so
Yep.
that's our objectives here. So
Yeah.
to kind of wrap up the appraisal aspect of things, I know we kind of went full circle here. Um, if the home appraises, awesome. If appraises
Yes.
more, even better.
Yes.
That's the goal.
Yes.
So at that point, what's next, Jared? What happens after the appraisal?
After the appraisal, guess what? You get to go
Ooh.
to closing, sign
Hopefully.
sign a bunch of documents. I've never signed so many documents. Man, nobody warned me that how many things I was going to have to sign when I bought my first house.
Yep.
I think I signed at least 100 times my signature on different stuff. It
What
was,
kind of
it was
loan
an
did you have?
it was an FHA loan. There was,
Okay.
it felt like 100. It might have been less than that, but my
There
goodness, it
was
felt
definitely
like
100 pages.
it was. Maybe that's what it was, but
Yeah.
but be prepared. But so the next thing, you're going to go to closing, and there's a couple of different kinds of, so this is one of the things I run into, and I've done several of them so far, is so you have a closing, it's in an office, you can go to the office, but if you're not going to be around, it's not a big deal. You can do what they call a remote closing. So essentially the title company will package all the documents, they'll email it to a um,
Mobile notary.
yes, thank you, because I just had a brain fart and I couldn't think of what it was called. A mobile
All right, I got
notary.
you, brother.
So, and that notary, they're going to print out all the documents. They're going to meet you in whatever town, city, state, whatever.
Business, if you're at work, they'll do
Yes,
it.
they're going to meet you wherever you're at, and then they're going to come there, and you're going to sign, and they're going to know everything. They're familiar with the documents, so usually they can explain everything in there to you for the most part. The ones that I've had experiences with,
Oh, really?
the
Okay.
notaries have been they know what the documents are,
Okay.
but not, yeah, I can see your face, but not
Yeah.
everybody is going to be that way.
Yeah.
But
I've.
essentially,
I'm
no,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay. So they're gonna go. You're gonna go through the paperwork, and essentially you're gonna sign everything. They're gonna
Hmm.
notarize it. You're gonna slip it back into an overnight envelope and send it
Hmm.
back to the
Yep.
title company.
Yeah.
So and then that's it. Or the more traditional way is to go into the actual title company or the closing office and sign everything with the closing agent
Hmm.
and celebrate, take pictures, but
Have a
as you
drink
know,
of whiskey.
have a drink of whiskey, exactly. But one thing we didn't mention is usually either the day before or the morning of closing, at some point you want to do that final walkthrough,
Walk through.
the walkthrough of the home, and that's just essentially saying that everything is acceptable per what you initially agreed on. The house is in the same, same order as it was when you saw it,
Condition.
and condition and everything. So that's an important thing, is to do the the pre-closing walkthrough
It's
before you
important.
actually sign the documents.
Yeah, made a mistake once.
Did you?
Well, we couldn't do it. Like we were neither the buyer or myself was capable of being there at that time to do a final walkthrough. And this is a horror story. So
Oh,
they closed on the house. They walked in the house, and all the appliances were gone. And as you know, appliances convey on the first page of the contract. It literally says refrigerator, fixed objects, microwave, well, not microwave anymore, stove, dishwasher, and it has a list of stuff. They walked in, the kitchen was completely bare.
What?
Everything was gone. Completely bare.
What?
It's gone. Everything
Oh
was
my
gone.
goodness.
The sellers ripped off all the stuff.
Oh my
And they
goodness.
took it. So I get a call, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, let me call an agent. I called the agent, and he was just like, it wasn't a part of the contract. And I was just like, yes, it was. And he
Absolutely.
got real snippy, real quick, really combative. And he's like, it wasn't on the MLS. I'm just like, since when does the MLS ever supersede a contract? And he says, it's not on the
No.
contract. And I was just like, page 1.
Yes.
And like page 1, it's baked into the contract.
Correct.
And he said he pretty much, it turned into slander. And essentially,
Really?
I pretty much I ended the call because it wasn't getting anywhere fruitful. And
Right.
I pulled up the contract, I screenshotted it, and I sent it to him. And his response was pretty much, F you, F Century 21, talk to my effing lawyer. And I was just like, your effing lawyer is going to tell you straight up that you effed up.
Oh my
And like,
gosh.
yeah. And I said, this is going to come straight out of your commission check, by the way. And lo and behold, guess who had to fork up
Wow.
about $6,000 worth of appliances?
That
That
buyer's
buyer, that listing agent,
or that listing agent.
Yep. Because the seller was just like, nah, man, that was never part of the thing. Like that wasn't part of the agreement. So he had to fork up that entire commission to come to and pretty much deliver it. Here you go to the buyers, and they got to buy new appliances. So
wow,
it's very important that you hire a professional, because that professional will cover your ass.
yeah, yes,
And the idiots. And you know what's crazy is that this agent was doing buyer seminars. He was teaching buyer seminars. And that's like the scary thing. I'm like, this guy is a fraud. Like, in my opinion, like, you're straight up a fraud. Like, you have no idea what the hell you were talking about. So,
man,
and there are people in this world that should not be doing what they're doing.
wow,
You know,
that's crazy. Yeah, and that's why
like politicians.
that's why the contract is so important. And if it's not in the contract, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's on the MLS. It doesn't matter what's in the description. It doesn't matter what's in the pictures. It doesn't matter about none of that other stuff matters. It only matters what you put into the contract. That's why that contract is so freaking important.
Yeah, and we'll
to
go
make
over
sure you
it, okay?
fill it out correctly, to make sure you understand what you're signing, because you might run into situations like this. To where you think one thing is like, well, it didn't say on the MLS, it didn't say in the description that I was supposed to give you this, but all that is doesn't mean anything. It's what is in that contract. So
a good agent will tell you what section 11 of the contract is, and that's property maintenance.
yes,
So they'll be able to recite that shit off the top of their head.
right.
All right. So that's what you want. I gotta chime in here. So after closing, Jared,
Yes.
what happens after you celebrate?
Yes, that's time to celebrate. That's the time. That's the time where I get too busy to help you move.
Have fun. I'll send pizza.
Yes. No, I mean, I'll buy you a 6-pack or something. That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna be too busy to help you move. I'm sorry.
We don't. Oh man.
There's other people that can help you. Call your friends. Call your buddies.
Yep. I did it early in my career. I helped my first couple of buyers, and my good friends move. Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't keep doing this. I cannot spend 2 days helping you move. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to do this. I'm not a professional mover. I'm a
Right.
professional door opener. Okay.
Right.
So,
Yes. No, I've done it. I've done it. I've done it recently. I hooked up a trailer, and we were moving like like 4 or 5 things, to another house. So it wasn't that big of a deal.
mhm.
It took a few hours, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, you close once you sign all the paperwork, you get the keys. I mean, that house is yours. The payments are yours. The
Yep.
maintenance is yours.
All of it.
Um, all of it.
And,
It's all yours.
yeah. And
So,
especially with an as is. So we need to let people know that when you have a home and you purchase it, as is, and then you
mhm,
start discovering things after the fact, you can't go back to the seller at that point and say, "Well, they
right,
should have fixed this. They should have done that. They should have known about
right,
this. Therefore they have to fix it." It doesn't work like that. All right?
right.
It does not.
Unless there was something that you can prove that was not disclosed during the buying process, and
But
it's
you
going to
have
be a
to.
hard thing. It's going to be a hard thing to do to prove that they knew and they neglected or uh, intentionally did not tell you about something. Um, so it's
But it's a hard sell because you have to prove again. You have to prove
correct,
willful negligence. All right.
correct, right.
So you have
So
to. Yeah. Even if it's
at
like
that,
obvious, what's obvious that they know? It's just like again, you have to prove it. Like, are you
I
willing to
mean,
take them to court
yes,
and pretty much go in front of a judge and provide only hearsay evidence
right,
that they could have known, and all that person has to do is be like, "I didn't know, Your Honor,"
yep.
and
Yep.
well, then
And it's
that's
it's
so
just
well.
like
I'm
any other
sorry.
court case. This, real estate is no different. You have to be able to prove it with beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yep.
And, and you have the burden of, can you hear my dogs barking?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
It's
That's what I was hoping you could, cuz, why not? Why
because
not have
why
dogs
not?
barking at the
Yeah,
end? Why not?
100%.
So
That's
I
great.
mean, when you buy a house and get dogs, that's what you do, and you start a podcast, and you have dogs barking at the end.
Yep, that's how it rolls. So, but
So,
once you sign, um, then essentially post closing comes. All right. So what happens at the post closing? So your ownership of the property now becomes public record. You're going to receive a shit ton of fraud mail. Okay. They're going to come in the form of like Amazon, contact us for a free Amazon gift card, Home
mhm,
Depot gift card, Lowe's gift card,
mhm,
some other bullshit gift card. Contact us for
mhm,
this, contact us for that. You're going to get refinancing mail, refinance for a lower mortgage, refinance for this. You're also going to receive um, deed letters say, hey, for a copy of your deed, pay $100 here, and we'll give you a
right,
copy of your deed. Well,
yep,
you're gonna get your deed 100% free because it's your
right,
deed, and you're gonna get it in
right,
the mail from the title company once it's done being recorded in about 12
correct,
weeks. So be wary of that. And if some of these fraud mails are getting so crazy good with the lettering, the paper looks good, it seems
mhm.
legitimate,
It looks legit.
and yeah, it looks legit, but it's not. So what you do instead of calling the numbers on the piece of mail, you call your agent, send a
Mhm,
picture, hey, I received this, is this legit? Hey, I received
right,
this, is this legit? And then you essentially just you reach back out. If they reach back out and tell you like, yeah, that's legitimate, it's like, that's something
yep,
worth a secondary look. So the biggest thing is your loan being sold. More often than not, your
mhm,
loan will be sold after
mhm,
you moved in. So
yep,
say for example, Lakeview Loan Servicing, which was our lender,
mhm,
they sold it to United Wholesale Mortgage. All right.
yes,
So we're gonna get a letter in the mail saying, "Hey, we've sold your mortgage to wholesale mortgage." Okay,
mhm,
cool. Start making your payments there. But sometimes you're gonna get letters from one institution because it's easy to see who your loan servicer is. That's easy.
Right.
That's all public record.
It
And
is.
it's easy to draft a letter saying like, "Hey, Lakeview sold your loan service to the Noon Group loan servicing depot. All right, now you're gonna start making your payments to this PO box. Well, guess what? That PO box was to me an individual who came up with a fake entity, and now I'm collecting your $1,300,
So are
your
are
$2,000 mortgage.
are you scamming people, Chris?
No comment.
So
So
I should not be sending my loan payment to the Noon Group.
no,
Damn
you
it!
shouldn't.
You got me.
I got you for at least a year.
Dang. Joke's on you
Yeah.
because I didn't pay for at least a year. Dang.
Oh, he
All
paid
right then.
cash.
No.
But he
Uh,
so you want to watch out for that. So anytime
yeah.
your loan has been sold, call your previous lender. Call that
Yes.
lender. So
Yep.
contact Greg, contact the person who did your loan because they'll be able to
Yes.
pull it up. They can pull it up and
Yeah.
say, yes, we sold your loan to the Noon Group, or no, actually, we sold your loan to JDA Florida Homes Depot,
Right. The legit one.
the legit one. I'm the fraud. JDA is the
Right.
real one. And
That's right.
then, so that's who you make your payment. Never contact the number on a piece of mail, ever,
No.
ever.
No.
Okay.
No. But
So, but there are real documents. Your home insurance will send you a real document, like a thick piece of document. Your lenders will send you real documents. Your title company will send you real documents. But
yes. Yep.
you have to be wary of it. Just call.
Yes.
Okay.
And that gets into the whole fraud thing. I mean, just always be wary about any, suspicious pieces of mail or, looks like an average. If it doesn't look real or if you're a little sketchy about it, then chances are it's probably not something real. Just go on, your lender's website, find an actual number and call them directly. Don't rely on, emails and, links that people send you and stuff like that. Just go directly to the website
and text messages.
And tech,
with links.
just forego all that stuff. But the last thing,
All
real
of it.
quick, we want to talk about. So once you close on your home, single family residence, or any home, if it's your only home, your primary home, there are some restrictions, but you want to go get it homesteaded, and it's going to be a little bit different. The process in each city or county or whatever. But basically, you fill out an application, and it's just a way to get a tax break on your property tax. So it's it's not you're not cutting it in half, but you are getting some sort of a tax break. It is.
It's very helpful.
But it's one of those things that a lot of people either don't know about or they forget about, and
I did it. I forgot it for 2 years. I forgot it for a year now.
I've talked to people that didn't do it for like 5 or 6 years, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? They're like, well, I just either they didn't, I've had one person tell, well, I didn't know about it, and another person just kept forgetting, or didn't know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, so just because you close on your house doesn't mean you have to stop calling your agent, your realtor. You can keep calling them and asking them questions. Hey, what's this homestead thing I've heard of? Good question. Let me tell you about it. So make sure you call your agent and ask them questions after you close on your home. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. I have clients that I sold them their home like 4 years ago, and they're still actually 2016, so 4, 5, 6 years. I'm still in contact with that buyer. He still hits me up. Hey, is this legit? With that piece of mail, or like with Homestead, is like, is Homestead a good thing? I'm like, yeah, man. I hope you fired for that shit. He goes, nah, I just got hit with a huge tax increase. I'm like, fuck, dude.
Yeah. So
I was like, oh shit. It's important to file for Homestead. Yes. I fucked up twice, so don't.
Oh, come on.
And I'm a realtor, dude.
Oh, come on. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how easy it is to just, I mean, it can slip your mind. It's a little bit of a process depending on where you're at.
So simple,
sometimes you can do it online. Some places you got to go into an actual office and fill out an application and do it.
Yeah.
But,
and what you do, depending on your county, here in the state of Florida, since we're a homestead state, you type in, just Google Homestead, Seminole County, Homestead,
Yes.
Marion counties, Homestead,
Type
Pinellas,
yes.
Homestead, Brevard.
Yep. Yep.
Everything.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
Type in Homestead and then
The
space
name of the
your
county.
county, or your city or whatever, and it'll pop up. I'm
It'll tell
pretty
you.
sure it'll
It'll
pop
tell
up
you.
within the first one,
Yeah.
first couple of links there.
And it'll even tell you if you have further benefits, if you qualify. So if like you're a widow or you're a veteran with disability, if you they have each county has a massive list of exemptions, and it is so beneficial, especially if say if you're a veteran and if you're a veteran with disability, they help you out tremendously. So I advocate 100%. Jared, we should do something else like a dram style of talking about Homestead and actually going through some county sites on how to do it, especially coming up because the deadline's coming up actually now. Holy shit. Seminole County was March 1st.
Yeah. I think
Orange County is March 30th.
Is it?
Yeah. We'll have to do it. We should do it next year. So put it on the calendar.
All right. Next year.
Yeah.
And then, that's it.
The last thing I was gonna say is change the freaking locks, people.
Oh yes. Yes. Yeah, change the locks, because you never know if the previous sellers, kept a key or lost a key, and then somebody has that and they're gonna come over and visit you without you knowing. Change the locks. That's what I did on the both houses that I've been through. We changed the locks, so
I'm a big fan of the keyless entry, the keypad.
That's what we have.
Ting, ting. Oh,
that's what we have.
It.
I can unlock it from my phone. I can have it set to where I'm pulling up to the house and it'll automatically unlock. So
is that how your lock sounds?
That's what it does. Yes, exactly. Yep.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. What else am I missing? Anchor.fm, Spotify.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we're on everything you can imagine. If you have a topic that you want us to discuss, please let us know. We're happy to do it. Feel free to take a look on our Instagram for all of our previous stuff, and on our YouTube. You should see it, links here all around, whatever it may be. And then we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
I tell you what, if you just go to Google and you type in whiskey with an agent,
what happens?
We're not number one, but if you go down to about the third or fourth link, you'll start finding our stuff. So,
okay, I typed in whiskey with an agent and it says Jack Daniels.
Yes, that is the very top thing. Yes, but if you scroll down, you start seeing some of our videos.
YouTube. Yeah. We're the first YouTube thing to pop up.
Heck yeah, we are
on it right there.
So
there it is. Podcast.apple.com.
See,
that's there.
So just go to Google and search it, and then you'll find it. So if you don't know how to find it, just go to Google whiskey with an agent and find it. And when you do, make sure you subscribe, you like it, you share it, you follow it, all the stuff for social media, whatever you want to do. It honestly does help us out when you subscribe on YouTube or you like our page on Facebook. It actually does help us out. So
it does help us out a lot, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, but until next time, maybe next Thursday or following Thursday.
No, next Thursday, whatever. Man. All right. So last Thursday, the reason why is because last Thursday was date night for me and the missus. So
date night.
Can't interrupt date night. And that was the only night available. So that's what happened. All right.
That's all good.
So
that's all good.
We're going to be looking to do, unfortunately, there will not be a dram style for this episode, but I'm sure we can do. We can do a dram style stuff.
We'll do a shorter version of it.
Let's scare up. We'll do a dram style over the weekend. Jared, if you have availability, we'll knock it out just about 20 minutes. A more condensed version of the home buying process. And we'll make sure we get this out to our platforms and our audience, which I'm going to cheers to right now.
Cheers.
Thank you guys for being with us. Jared, cheers to you, brother.
Likewise.
And see y'all next Thursday.
Yeah, man. It was a good time. Adios.
Peace.
Bye.
Mahalo.